Hello, friends. We're back again. Welcome to Fightful. It's January 17th, 2026. And it's time for your TNA Genesis post show. I am at Joel Pearl, thejoelpearl.com on Blue Sky, and it's nice to be back. Yes, we're talking about TNA. Yes, I'm back talking about TNA. Thank you for the well wishes. No thank you to Sean Ross Sapp for the imagery he decided to put out on Thursday night, but I do appreciate him covering for me, feeling my pain, which, by the way, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it because I wasn't there, but being sick may have actually been the better idea for Thursday, but we don't need to talk about that right now. We've got an entire TNA pay-per-view to talk about. TNA Genesis was tonight. We're going to have plenty of news, plenty of notes, reasons for you to subscribe to Fightful Select, even if you're a TNA fan, and even if you're not. We've got lots of news coming down the pipeline and plenty coming up with contracts, people moving, people grooving, people getting money, people enjoying life, people, getting through it. That's just what we do. We're getting through it. I'm joined, as always, because it's a pay-per-view, by my dream team. Cresta Starr is back. I get to see you again. How you doing, Cresta?
I'm doing well. Right now we have Mercedes Meowne filling in for me because, I want to be positive, Pete. Something spooked her and she is not. She's sports concerned right now, just like me. And we both watched TNA together. She slept through it. How are you, Steven? How are you, Joel?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back on here with you, Crest, even though I can't see. We missed you on the last post show for the pay-per-view. I remember we got like the tail end of you. You were live at like 2 shows ago. So it's good to get a full show in with you today on this one. I feel like it's been a while. And there's a lot to talk about, a lot going on in the world of TNA wrestling. Of course, the AMC debut happening just a couple days ago. But yeah, I'm doing good. What's up to everyone in the chat as well? I know there's some people in here talking about the 49ers Seahawks game. I was watching that as well on my second screen. So yeah, that was not even a game. There was another game earlier today as well. So I'm a big NFL fan. I know there's a lot of NFL fans out there as well watching. So I'm having a good weekend. Gonna watch more football tomorrow. But yeah, that's about it. I'm glad you're feeling better, Joel. And I'm glad I'm right here with you, Cresta. And I'm glad that everyone here in the chat is ready to listen to us talk about some TNA wrestling.
Our friends over on In the Weeds know exactly how I got sick, and thankfully I'm better. So I appreciate the well wishes, like I said, and thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Cresta. Glad to be here. Glad to be back. Hey, leave a thumbs up on the video if you haven't. If you know this bit, well, it's coming to this video right now. There you go.
Boom.
Pyro and ballyhoo for everyone.
That's great.
Leave a thumbs up on the video. And while you're at it, you can also donate a super chat. Any might get your question or statement read on the air. And of course, the other free 99 option is to subscribe to us here on Fightful's YouTube channel and Fightful Overbooked. That is our sister channel. That's where myself, Stephen Jensen, are on the channel. Jeremy Lambert, of course, and SP3, and Rob, and Maggie, and plenty others. We're dropping content all the time over on that channel. And of course, you want to watch In the Weeds. It's the best morning show in all of wrestling, talking, whatever it is. Better than the other show that everyone was talking about on this particular pay-per-view. We don't need to talk about them. They can go be busted somewhere else. But anyway, we're here. We're clear. We're going to talk TNA Genesis. And I think the show was a lot better than the Thursday night show. And I think it's a low bar to say it. Jensen, I know you mentioned offline that you wanted to give your thoughts. I want to open with you. Cresta, everyone can go back on Thursday. Sean and Cresta gave their thoughts on the entirety of the AMC debut. We don't need to go too deep into it, but because Stephen and I both were not there to give our thoughts, and because we both do talk about TNA on the regular, I am curious about your thoughts, Stephen, about the AMC debut.
Yeah, so, we've been doing these pay-per-view post shows together for years at this point. And every time I come on here, I'm always mentioning how for these shows, at least 4 times a year, at the very least, the wrestling world is locked in, paying attention to what TNA Wrestling is doing for these pay-per-views. This year, today, felt especially magnified because we are coming right off of the AMC debut, and they were so close to one another, the debut in this show. I thought that I saw a lot of the fan feedback on the AMC show, and it seemed mainly negative from what I saw. I saw people making a big deal out of like the cage match rating and stuff like that. That's not necessarily like the best, barometer or whatever you want to call it but I'm just saying it seemed to be overall a pretty negative review for most people, it seemed like. And it was just one of those things where I was really confused, even doing the spotlight, because me and Jeremy did our show on Thursday before the debut. And I was saying, I was really confused even going into the debut because I was like, well, Genesis is in 2 days. What's the world title match? Like, I know it's like Kaz or Santana or maybe Nemeth because he's strongly implying he's cashing in versus who? Or is it them against each other? Eventually, they made it clear, it was going to be a rematch regardless of like what happened in the main event. They're going to do Kaz and Nemeth, Kaz and Santana. But anyway, there's a lot of confusion. A lot of talents not being able to be there because of the visa issues and that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, there hasn't really been much going on in the world of TNA since the last time we were here doing this review because they they had all their eggs in this basket of doing this AMC debut, and unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that they had planned had to be changed last minute or on the fly. So that's really unfortunate, and I guess I just felt really confused coming into this show. Well, sorry, I was really confused coming into the AMC show. I had some more clarity, but going into this show just felt like a different type of, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like people were really negative coming off of Thursday, and they were like, this show better be awesome. If I'm going to watch this show, it better be awesome because I didn't really get what I wanted on Thursday. Maybe we'll get that tonight. It's kind of how I felt going into this show. How did you feel, Joel?
Oh, it was not a good show on Thursday. I think you had a perfectly good opportunity to rebuild and regrow an audience that was maybe finding TNA for the first time, or maybe were looking for an opportunity to get back into TNA. I thought that it's been for a while, but I thought what happened at Bound for Glory going dark for a month didn't help. Coming back and doing immediately the Santana loses his title on the live episode. That's your first episode back. That didn't help. And then on top of that, they go to El Paso. They spotlight some new talent, which is great. And those talent have not been featured ever since. And I'm talking about Bear Bronson. I'm talking about the Andersons, Brock Anderson, CW Anderson. And I know for one, at least, they're working on a deal with Bear if he's not already on a deal. But regardless, the opportunities were there. And they didn't take advantage of things coming into the new year. The visas thing should have been handled when they were off for that month. They should have looked at their roster and said, who are we retaining? Who are we not keeping? Who's on the table? Who do we need to get our visas for? And because you had a lot of contracts coming up, here's an example. Jody Threat and she told us on In the Weeds that her contract was finishing up in December. So if in December they didn't have a deal yet for Jody and they thought they could expedite the process on a visa, that's still on them. But regardless, they lost a lot of people because of the visas. One of those things were Danny, of course, was one of them. Leon's one of them. They lost 2 producers. They didn't have Lance Storm, as far as I understand, and they didn't have Cody Deaner, hometown Deaner. Regardless of how I feel about him on TV, I think that Cody Deaner is an excellent producer. I think that he does really great work behind the scenes for TNA, and he is a good wrestler. Hometown man as a gimmick doesn't do it for me. Regardless, with those
got re-signed, right?
Yeah, and Deaner resigned. Sorry, hometown man resigned. Regardless, there's reason to have them. I was upset, and of course I just mentioned Jody Threat wasn't available as well. For a lot of those talent to have to miss it for those reasons and to have set up matches in advance, if you were setting up matches, those are the priority talent that you should be working on visas for. If you know that you're working towards Danny Luna in a title match, Leon Slater in a title match, other people that you need to fit in need to be fit in immediately to make sure that these get done. So yes, TNA gets a little bit of leeway because some things are out of their control. However, when they submitted these visa applications is another conversation that I hope we're working on, because I'm curious, and I don't know if anyone's going to send us, when they were dated as sent out, but I hope that it was done with enough time so they can actually say, we did try. And it wasn't like, well, January 1st came and that's when we tried. So regardless, the show.
I will say this real quick, that in regards to the visas, America right now is real weird. So I will give them grace in that regard. But I had said to you offline that I do miss where TNA has had visa issues before. This is not TNA's first rodeo having Canadian or British talent. You could just bring in indie talent. But now I feel like as much as the partnership has helped, I also feel like it hasn't Like, you can't do that anymore. You can't bring in just some people. I know we're live, pal. You know what I mean? But I'm glad that this pay-per-view was better, but the bar was so astronomically low that I have to put a cat up here. So when I'm negative tonight, people will be like, oh no, Cresta's a cat. We don't want to yell at her. So, like, I've been rooting for TNA, and after sleeping on it, it's just unfortunate. I'm glad they front loaded it with the people that they did, but the rest of it just felt unfortunate.
Yeah. So the show itself on Thursday was also just not well paced, not very well done. 3 matches, a shit ton of angles. Part of my French is we're 10 minutes into the show. And I mentioned the Dixie Carter spot. So everyone talked about how Dixie was booed and they were all surprised. And people were trying to say, well, you painted her in a bad light for so long. Well, no, that was the 7th consecutive segment that you were putting out in not even in front of the live crowd. It was the 7th consecutive segment that you were doing after a subpar knockouts tag title match. You were putting Dixie out there to fail effectively because the crowd was so done with just sitting on their hands waiting for something to happen. There was no action to total nonstop action. So at that point, it just didn't make sense to have her come out there because she was going to get booed. And yes, it was the intro to the main event, but it was just poorly paced. So as a result, they did not have a good showing. Even the title match between Kazarian and Santana, like, it was okay. It was great by standard of the TV show because it was the one of 3 matches on the card. And I mentioned one of them was already subpar and the other one was the tag match that was fine. And they were trying to do it. So, but it being trying to have a hot open of a match with the Hardys, and the Hardys, listen, they're pitching 50. They're not what they used to be, and they have a lot of wear on their bodies. And I think that they're doing great work from where they are right now, but there's only so long you can put all your money in that train, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I thought the debut did not live up to expectation. And I think that people who are telling you otherwise are trying to actively create a disservice to TNA, who need to hear critiques like this and need to hear valid ones. I'm not saying shit all over it and just point out the cage match rating. I think Jensen, you said it perfectly. Like, that should not be the barometer that people just choose to do. But I think that when people give constructive criticism about a program that balances out, those need to be heard. And I do hope that people, and I know that people at TNA hear us when we talk about these things. And I'm not blowing smoke. I'm just saying we are giving valid criticism, and at a point where they need it, they understand it. So that was my take on the AMC debut. I was underwhelmed. I also thought to myself, if this is what I have to do at 11 p.m. on Thursdays moving forward, we are going to have some active conversations at Fightful as to whether or not I do them live or at all. So that is where we are. But we're here to talk about Genesis. And like I said at the top, this was a much better show than Thursday. Granted, the bar was in hell. However, I think a lot of ways they did a really good job of pulling up and doing a good job at making you get interested in the next episode of TNA on AMC. That's how I felt. Really quick roundtable, just a general feeling coming out of the show. I'll give it to Jensen first and then Cresta. Just a quick couple of sentences about the show.
I mean, way better than the AMC debut. Like, and I don't want to steal any of your thunder because I know kind of how you feel about it, Joel, and I'll let you get to that. But I think I'm going to agree with what you're going to have to say about a lot of the stuff, a lot of the stuff tonight, probably should happen on Thursday. And I know you were saying that before you went live. So if you want to elaborate on that too, I totally agree with that sentiment that with these shows being so close to one another, this show was way better than the show on Thursday. I'll say that. That's my main thought, and it needed to be, and I'm glad that it was.
Cresta, I'll give you next word.
Yeah, I agree with Stephen and you, if that's what you're going to say as well. I do think a lot of these needed to be on Thursday. And if not, I think this is a prime and glaring example of you don't need to just build up your mid card and your top of your guys. You need to build up your undercard, because now TNA, all they have left is undercard. The matches were fine. Everything was fine. And stand up, TNA. I just have everything is fine. I was whelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was whelmed.
Josh G from Connecticut adding in Genesis was fine.
Yeah.
It was the Joel Pearl fine. I get it. So yeah, what Jensen was talking about, this was something that I've talked about on our TNA post shows, and I've talked about it on In the Weeds, and I've said it multiple times. When the TNA AMC announcement was made, I said, The debut episode should be called Genesis. It should be a 3-hour special, and the TNA Genesis pay-per-view should just be, either moved a few weeks or just not done this year, and you're not going to hurt any obligations because you don't have pay-per-view obligations to anyone. You have your own streaming service. Granted, you work with Triller, you work with you work with YouTube, but like you don't have a distributor that's expecting you to do a pay-per-view. Granted, you make some money off of it, and you can probably do it if you wanted. But if you're running a live event, you can do that at a different time. So to me, I thought the best thing they could have done was run the show as a super card. This is what we got. This is your taste test of TNA. We will have some angles, but most of all, we're going to have great matches on a Thursday night. Here's a 3-hour taster. Then we're going to do 2 hours. And then you'll be hopefully enjoying and wanting to see more about TNA. That's where I stood. Because again, after Thursday, Jensen, you said it, they didn't have a main event until Thursday at 11 p.m. for the Saturday show.
That's like the women's title match was like up in the air. The X division is up in the air. Like they're like, it seemed like half the card wasn't set and the pay-per-view was in 2 days. And like, that's really unusual for TNA. Like usually one thing I feel, at least in my opinion, you guys follow it closer, like on a week-to-week basis, obviously, as you review it. But like when I go into these TNA pay-per-view reviews, usually like at least a couple weeks out at the least, I feel pretty solid on like what I know I'm getting on the pay-per-view. Like, I'm pretty prepared. They seem like they were pretty prepared and had direction. Now, once again, a lot of this got thrown out of the window because of stuff they couldn't control. But like, it was just very strange that they were in that spot 2 days ago. And they also were in a position where they felt like, like if you're going to, I like Mike Santana. I like Frankie Kazarian. I like Nick Nemeth, but like, it's just kind of weird to me that like you couldn't come up with anything more creative. They added the deathmatch element, which is good. The Texas deathmatch element made it different, but like you couldn't come up with anything more creative than like, well, we'll just run back the match from 2 days ago again on pay-per-view.
So this is the one thing I'm going to add, and I think we can move off of this because it wasn't all doom and gloom. This was the one thing coming off of Thursday that really annoyed me. Not only did they have to blow up the card, but what they did was they decided to run a rematch of a rematch of a rematch because someone decided that they weren't going to do what they originally planned, which was Nemeth saying at the end of the show, I'm going to come in, I'm going to cash in, and then whatever. They could have easily done Nemeth versus Santana for the title tonight, and Nemeth have called a shot. And instead, they went back and they decided, Santino is going to make a rematch for the title that already changed hands twice. Like, we're going to hot potato the title and do another rematch. At one point, you have to stop giving the rematch clause because it was just over and over and over again. We were just giving it back and forth. So now what now Kazarian's done because we finally beat him twice and that's it. And then they had to do Texas Death. Texas Death is usually reserved for when a feud has heat and there's a personal issue, and there was never a personal issue between Santana and Kazarian. Santana even said as much. Like, they respected each other, they liked each other, they did the contract signing, and Santana made the whole allusion to like, we were both in AEW, we weren't happy, we came here, now look at us, we're fighting for the title. That is not a feud that to me says we got to do Texas Death. No, it's a feud of respect. So what you did at that point as a creative, and what you did to your talent at that point, is you forced them to work extra hard to try and buy the audience in. And when you have to buy the audience in by using bells, whistles, blood, and guts, sorry, AEW, but if you have to start using blood and weapons and all of that stuff and walk and brawls, that is to the detriment of your talent trying to tell a proper story in wrestling, and instead forcing them to use bells and whistles to get a reaction. So that's a failure on creative, which is something we continue to talk about. They could have told a more cohesive story, and then instead they decided to let's do a Texas Death match because they're going to love it and we're in Texas and we have to stop. That's another conversation when we get to the main event, but I digress. Go ahead.
Well, no, I agree with all of that. And I mean, wasn't it even, I'm almost positive I remember this being the case because it was just 2 days ago on commentary. Didn't they mention that like no matter who won the main event, they were going to run a rematch? Like no matter whether Kaz or Santana won on Thursday, didn't matter. That was going to be the rematch today.
They made it sound like they were going to face Nick Nemeth, in all honesty. And then they were like, no, he's a special guest referee. And I know what, now mad that you say that, I do think they were like, no matter what, there was going to be a rematch. And then Dara brought in What's his name? Big Nemeth to be the special guest.
The way that they played it up was in the contract signing, Nemeth came out and said, after the AMC debut, I'm going to cash in on this person and I'm going to be the title holder. And I'm going to go. And also Santino said at Genesis, someone is going to defend the title. So so they really just threw it all up in the air and said, here, damn. And they didn't really explain why Daria Ray chose Nick Nemeth. And I know people are going to jump in and be like, well, no, because they have history from WWE. Here's the thing. You cannot project WWE creative onto a TNA story because TNA has not explained to anybody else that Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville had a relationship in WWE 7 years ago. So you can't use that logic. It doesn't work that way. So you need to establish why, and not just, she's the heel authority figure. He's a heel. It doesn't mesh other than they're heels and therefore they're friends. There's no relationship there in TNA, and you can't assume knowledge when it comes to this. That's why some of this stuff was making little to no sense.
Well, and also, like, kind of like what I was kind of getting at is like, if the stipulation or the agreement or whatever, because I know that was the case with Nemeth, like he was saying he was going to cash in over and over, but like, if it was a stipulation either way that this was going to be a rematch tonight, then like, A, why did the match on Thursday matter if it was just going to be the match tonight? And B, if the show went off the air before any of the Nemeth stuff even happened. So like, if you're watching the show live, you know what I mean? It just feels like those were some like big drop ball kind of like opportunity. I don't know. Just kind of, anyway, that's honestly the most of like the negative stuff that I've got to say is like out of the way now though. Like, because I do have a lot of positive stuff to say about the show for tonight, but we were coming into this show with a lot of negativity, but I'm going to turn that around a little bit.
Well,
heck yeah. Point your negativity at the cat. We love Rangar.
Man, people love the cat. People are loving the cat in the chat.
Right, Volb saying, meow, loving this new cat, this new look, Cresta. Get it.
I got a hair transplant in Turkey.
Oh, yeah? That looks like cat to me.
I mean, hair, fur, same thing.
That's fair. Isila Gato saying was on the fence about ordering, but after Thursday, nope. Honestly, you could go back and watch the show and you'll probably enjoy it as a wrestling show. And again, if you talk about the storylines like we do as well, then yeah, you may poke some holes and be like, not for me. But I think from a wrestling standpoint, I think a lot of things played out well. And I think that there is some movement coming forward. Let's hit the pre-show real quick. International titles on the line. Stax defeats BDE, Eric Young, and pulling double duty tonight, KJ Orso shows up in TNA. Good to see him. Weird to see him try to be a babyface in this company, especially because he then goes over to GCW, works a match with Effie, and is not a babyface in GCW at all. But this match was all in service of giving KJ Orso a lot just to pin him. This really was Eric Young hits the pile driver on KJ, Stax steals the pin. I'll put it real quick. Macklin and Eric Young had words on TV 2 weeks ago. Stax and Macklin are still unresolved. There's probably going to be a triple threat with Macklin, EY, and Stax at No Surrender. But then you also have to deal with the Santino and Stax thing. So if they're going to try and stretch that out, I have no hope for humanity. But I'll start with you, Cresta. Stax, BD, Young, and Orso.
I did not see this match. I won't lie. But if I'm going to talk about what you said, I could see a timeline where Stax is defending it and Santino screws him, but I didn't see this match. I literally on the pre-show rather, I caught the tail end of the tag match.
I get it. Jensen, your thoughts?
I thought it was a solid opening match. Obviously it's cool to see KJ Orso. I know a lot of y'all probably familiar with his work in AEW as Fuego del Sol. But if you're unfamiliar with what he's done on the indies since leaving AEW, I'd recommend checking out, at the very least, check out his GCW run, especially the stuff against Sam Stackhouse. You really good feud with him. He's, they have a long history, but I felt the same way as usual watching this, because I was like, I'm so used to seeing KJ as a heel, but his move set serves so well as a baby face that like it's fun to watch him go in there and bounce all over the place. I love Eric Young. I'm always going to be an Eric Young fan. I just think it's cool. He's like still performing at the level that he is with this many years, into his career. BDE, I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of. He comes across kind of like he's trying to be like Logan Paul a bit, but like not as a bad guy, if that makes sense. Like it's all about social media, obviously. Like that's his whole gimmick. But anyway, I thought it was a solid match, and the finish made sense. If they're going to keep the title on Stax, Eric Young does all the work. Hits the pile driver on Orso, and Stack steals the win, as you said, Joel. So solid open match.
Yeah, they go backstage. Daria Ray confronts Santino about how he's, more heart versus brain, and then later on they do the same promo again, but now it's Ariana, Grace, and Stacks, and I'm like, all right, we're just do the match, just do Santino and Stacks, just get it over with, please. But we'll move on because that was part of that storyline. Tessa Blanchard and Mila Moore defeat Indy Hartwell and Vicious Vicky. This all started because Vicious Vicky was trying to get an opportunity backstage, and Tessa and Mila and the Diamond Gang say, take my bags. And Indy Hartwell's like, no, don't treat her like that. But anyway, Vicky gets pinned by Tessa after shenanigans because, of course, the Elegance is the new Knockouts tag title holders are side stage. They're sitting ringside because reasons. And anyway, there are 3 teams in the Knockouts division moving forward again. So we got that going for us. Tessa and Mila win, and Indy and Vicious Vicky lose. Jensen, let's start with you.
Not a whole lot to really add or talk about, to be completely honest. The finish was basically what the Elegance brand, like when it tied Indy Hartwell right on the outside, and then Blanchard hit the buzzsaw and got the win. So that's pretty much all I've got. I mean, we saw the Elegance brand later in the show as well. We'll get to that. They had another run-in during the show, but I honestly don't have a whole lot to add to that match, to be honest.
It's one of those, why is she here moments. Anyway,
yes.
You're up.
No, literally, that's my whole question for this match is, why are the Elegance here? Why are the Elegances? That's the theory. That's the whole theme of tonight. Why are you here? I don't know. I have nothing to add because it's a pre-show match. Not to sound. Listen, look at this cat. This cat is cute. It's a pre-show match.
Back to sleep. Don't worry about it. So let me move on to the main show. AJ Francis defeats Rich Swann. I thought this was a really solid match. Again, I think a lot of people undervalue AJ Francis. He's starting to win a lot more people over. He's very good at what he does. This guy whips out a Styles Clash in this match. The only AJ that matters, and he gets to do it. And I thought it was fantastic. He tries it again later and gets a Canadian Destroyer for his troubles. Francis eventually does win with the down payment. Some couple notes. Primetime takes Francis down to the ring for his match, and Amy Rose, I think, was in Rich Swann's entrance because Amy and KJ are also doing stuff together. So there you go. Everyone just running back and forth between GCW and TNA tonight. Cresta, your thoughts on Francis and Swann?
Who was that guy that came out with AJ Francis?
Primetime. Nadia Lickstone.
I don't know why I thought that was Leo Rush. I was like, that looks like Leo Rush, but that's not Leo Rush.
I don't think they're going to be letting Leo Rush come out on a TNA pay-per-view anytime soon.
Listen, man, anything's possible. TNA is the land of make-believe.
Tell that to Tony Khan.
I mean, TNA is the land of make-believe, and you can't. After these 2 bouts, you cannot convince me. This was all right. I don't mind AJ Francis. I think that his character gets under my skin, much like The Miz, but I think that's the sign of a good heel. He's really good at being insufferable. And I think in a land, like we spoke about before, in a land of cool heels, sometimes you need someone to just be annoying and mean and gross. And he's been able as of late to back it up in the ring. So I'm not too mad about it. It was inoffensive. The size disparity between AJ Francis and Rich Swann was borderline comical, but Rich Swann is such a good wrestler. I'm happy he's back. I do like, okay, they kept mentioning Casey Navarro, and then I saw Casey Navarro in the end of not the end of the night, at the Dango match when they all were at the top of the ramp. I was surprised that we got no Casey Navarro running. However, if Casey Navarro and Rich Swann don't jump AJ Francis, because you've pretty much kicked out every other small guy you had to do your heavy lifting for you, beyond. This match was okay. It wasn't bad, but it's like AJ Francis, you keep talking crap about AJ Styles. What you going to do when you have to wrestle AJ Styles? You better stop. I mean, he's not going to wrestle there. But what you going to do if you have to?
I was actually surprised that this was the opener, just because normally you want to start with a hot match, and this, no offense to AJ or Rich, but it was just this match. I don't know. It wasn't the one I expected to open. Maybe I thought the Ali match, which was next, or I don't even know, the tag titles. That was something. That was weird.
I don't know. I think AJ is a good person to start off with. Because again, not my personal favorite, but he is He's one of your top heels. You literally lost all of the system to just go be faces arbitrarily. So he's really like one of your only top heels. Not mad at it again, but like he's beginning to get so insufferable heely that you're gonna need another heel or another white meat baby face, and your whole got gutted right now.
Yeah, that's fair. But they did a good job. They got the crowd into it, and that was fun.
Yeah.
It was this. Go ahead, Jensen. Yeah.
I was gonna say I actually really like this opening match. I'm a big fan of both these guys. Like I've been watching Rich Swann forever. Like I remember watching like shoot interviews he used to do with like Chuck Taylor and stuff back in the day. Like when those guys were like grinding the indie scene. The guy's been around forever. Former world champion, former X Division champion. Like beating Rich Swann is like, you know, it's still a pretty big deal. I feel like for people who are like on the come up. And I thought it was. I mean, and he did some good stuff during this match too. Like towards the beginning of the match, Swann went for a suicide dive to the outside, and AJ caught him and like tried to choke slam him on the apron. And Swann landed it and did like a springboard whisper in the wind to the outside, just like totally landed it like it was nothing. I mean, you guys, and AJ Francis, honestly, I think is like one of the most slept on guys in all of wrestling. Like I think he's like, I don't think he's even come close to hitting his prime yet, and he's so much better than he was when he started years back.
Agreed with that.
And it's funny because I was watching, my brother was over during the beginning of the show, and he saw AJ come out for the match, and he turned to me and he was like, "Hidden Treasures?" And I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, I love, because like we've seen like all those episodes together, and he always thought AJ had like a cool personality. So he was already rooting for him. And then he saw him do like, you know, the boot in the corner, like did like the flip to the outside and landed it. And I was like, check that. I was like, if he hits it, I was like, he has like the best choke slam in wrestling. Like, just wait. And I legitimately believe that. He has like the best choke slam in all of wrestling. Like, I'll give this guy all the credit in the world. I think, and it's an uphill battle being like the guy who's known as like the, you know, the random, what was it?
Flop dollar.
Well, yeah, well that, but like that Hidden Treasure show on A&E. I couldn't remember the network on A&E. Like kind of like got to start with that. Didn't really get much of a chance in the WWE system, and I think he's really done well for himself in the last few years. So I'll give AJ Francis a lot of credit here, and Rich Swann. I thought this was a solid opener, and you know, reverse down payment into the, you know, the traditional down payment for the finish. Shout out both these guys.
Yeah,
he did look like he palmed his head and threw it into the mat. Like, that's gnarly. That was disgusting.
He like dribbled his head legit straight into the ground. Yeah, that was rough. And that was right off the lethal injection. Like he like caught the lethal injection attempt and just spiked him head first and get that nasty choke slam. So
good, big man moment.
Yeah.
I thought Rich Swann was going to win this match because AJ is one of those. He's just one of those guys that, like Cresta, you were saying, he can get heat and he can make it believable and he can talk himself out of a loss and still retain that power.
Because he's such, I have to give him his flowers in that regard. I don't like giving him his flowers. I think I'm an AJ Francis hater. I got to be honest with myself. But he's a good heel. Like you said, he could literally, like, bro, you just lost. Okay, and so what? Your mom's steak. Yo, I hate this guy. Like, that's AJ Francis for you. He's such a good heel. In the land of Trick Williams, we need more AJ Styles. Not AJ Styles, AJ Francis. More AJ Styles. But, maybe, he did a Styles Clash tonight. Maybe he's AJ Francis, AJ Styles in disguise. I don't know.
He wasn't the only one, but we'll talk about that later. This is my moment where I talk about production, if you'll all indulge me for a second. The LED floor. This is something that is really, really cool when it looks good. And it takes a lot to make it look good. This is my little TNA, if you're listening, think about this. One of the smartest things most of these companies have done who have used the LED floor is put something to cover the LED floor, to make it not seem so obvious that you have to use little panels in a row to stick in to make the LED floor. If I can see the holes in the panel, get better panels or get better cameras. One's going to cost more than the other. But please, if you just want to look seamless, literally in this case, do that or cover the floor with something that talent don't want to slip on it because they're all grabbing each other for dear life, especially for the women who are not wearing boots. You notice, especially if they're wearing like any sort of high heel, they're just grabbing onto other people for dear life. Like, please don't let me slip and fall. LED floors, they look good. Just make them look good. Make them look better than they should. That's my one nitpick. Are we ready to move on?
Yeah, Ringo's very ready. I don't know why she's giving y'all that look. I don't know.
Why is Joel talking? Mustfa Ali defeats Elijah. So it feels very much like the 6-man on Thursday was there to circumvent Elijah losing in his return match. And that's all I felt, because when I did my predictions with SP3 on True Heel Heat, I said, Ali's got to win. You've got to reposition him into the title scene. You have to do Ali versus Santana. You cannot miss that opportunity, and you need to get it done as soon as you possibly can to strike while that iron's hot. Elijah's going to be fine. He just came back from injury. You didn't want him losing in his first match back, so you give him the win on Thursday to regain the opportunity to lose on Saturday. Sure. This match was all about the great hands getting involved. Eventually, everybody gets involved, but the referee... So, there's a sky high from Elijah, and then Agent Big Bill Zero gets ejected by the referee. Yes, I call him Agent Big Bill Zero for those who are new to this because his name is Big Bill Collier. I know him as that, but he's also Agent Zero, I guess. So he's Agent Big Bill Zero. Gets ejected by the referee. Great hands complain. They get ejected as well. Tasha Steelz gets in the ring while the referee's back is turned. She gets in with a guitar that belongs to Elijah, and Elijah stops her. He goes to hit her with the Highwayman's Farewell, and then Ali uses the guitar instead. The referee was distracted, which is, by the way, something we're going to say a lot tonight, and Ali gets the win. So Ali wins. It is a little messy. It's very messy, but they use all of Order 4 to get there. But otherwise, this match, it made storyline sense. And Ali gets the win. Jensen, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think you covered that pretty well. You know, like the pre-show stuff, you know, is with like the horse and all that. Like they went to pretty far lengths heading into this feud. There was a good well, I shouldn't say a good spot, almost a good spot, like a spot I was looking forward to that didn't wind up happening, where Elijah looked like he was going to hit a second rope tombstone, but as you mentioned, great hand, you know, kept getting involved throughout this, and you know, so he wound up not hitting it. Also, on a side note, completely unrelated, when I hear the name Special Agent Zero, like the name Zero reminds me of the movie Holes. So like maybe this guy's last name is Zeroni. I don't know.
Stop.
But yeah, that's all I've got. You know, you said it yourself, Joel. You know, Elijah, you know, gets beat by getting hit with his own guitar, basically, and Ali gets the win.
Hoist by his own guitar. Cresta, you're up.
Man, let me start off by saying Tasha Steelz looks so damn good tonight and on Thursday. Whoever, if she's doing it, this red and white combination, yes. That being said, this match was stiff as hell. I agree. Ali needed to win this. There is not a world where you finally have Santana as champion and you're not going to do Ali Santana. That's your money. If you're going to keep Santana there, which I hope they do, but WWE might be calling him too. But if you keep Santana there, Santana, Macklin, and Ali, you could really build your main event scene around them. Have Alexander, Cedric Alexander float in between there and the mid card. But man, I thought this match was really good. I'm never really that high on Elijah, but I thought even tonight he looked good. The strikes were stiff. My only complaint is at the end was literally cue the Benny Hill music. It didn't need that. It didn't need that. I think we could have cut some of that shenanigans and just got to the guitar spot, and it still would have achieved the same thing. I think Ali has proven to the detriment of TNA that he doesn't need all that help. So I don't know what that part was about, but overall, this match was fine. I wasn't whelmed. I was a little overwhelmed. It was good. Overwhelmed positive. It was good. I liked it. What about you, Joel?
Overused referee moments and overused extracurricular activities tonight? No. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Come on. They do. Elijah does the Highwayman's Farewell, and Ali, he's got this new bit that he does where he bridges way out of the pin and then does a little like Ric Flair-esque pass out spot. Yeah. I gotta tell, like it's very cute and it's very good. Keep doing it, but also use it sparingly, because now I'm starting to notice you do it. It was like, this is what happened with Speedball when he was in TNA and just like getting grooving. People had seen so much of Speedball, but they didn't see him on weekly television all the time. And it's weird to say this because Ali has been on weekly episodic television for like years now. When you get into a groove and your matches start having little spots that you start noticing, that gets dangerous. Because I started calling out Speedball for it. I was like, we can't keep doing the same 6-minute match, Speedy. And I'm not saying he changed, but it was one of those moments where I was like, come on, we got to switch it up. So I'm starting to notice him doing that little bridge out pin spot, and it's fine, but I got to call it out because it's funny. But let's hit a couple super chats. Josh saying these MFs spitting. Joel, is it true that Lance wasn't on Tuesday? That wasn't a Thursday show. As far as I understand, yeah, he was in Calgary, and same thing with tonight. Still waiting on visas. So There you go. Whether he could have telecommuted in, I don't know. It's pretty easy to turn on a webcam, but I don't know. That's not my call. But yeah, the Diener and Lance, as far as I understood, both back home in Canada, where I am. And I was not in Dallas at the show. So there you go. And Josh also adding to KJ Orso signed with TNA. Great to see him on the show. He's got aura. Sure, we're going to ask. I don't know at this point. I think he'd be a great get for TNA. I think that KJ has he first of all has the TV experience. Second of all, has the aura, as the kids say, as you're saying as well. He could be a really good star to have in the back pocket. Jensen, you've seen a lot of Fuego and a lot of KJ on the indies as it is. Tell me, do you think he'd be a great fit for TNA?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, because I also think TNA just in general could use, like, whether it's indie talent or just talent that isn't like already known as WWE talent or like super well known outside of TNA, like some actual like homegrown stars. You know, him being Fuego doesn't really, a lot of people aren't going to make that connection. Like, he can be a part of his character, but like him as KJ it's totally different than what Fuego del Sol was. So like, it's almost like he's getting a whole second life with the gimmick. And I think that he'd do well in TNA. Like, he'd have really good matches with anyone there. So yeah, I'm all for it if they sign him. You know, obviously this isn't TNA related, but like, I'm through the roof ecstatic to see, Jordan Oliver and Alec Price, heading to AEW. And the reason I bring that up is because I think those are two of the best independent talents in the world. And on top of that, like, if AEW is going to keep scooping up talents like that, TNA needs to be doing that also. Like, they need to get some of these talents before AEW does. So, and like, they just lost the Rascals. That's obviously huge, losing those guys and stuff. So like, they're in a and obviously Jake something. So like, they're in a position right now where they need new talent. And I prefer if they replenish the talent pool with people that they can home grow and that are more unknowns than people that were like cast offs from larger companies.
Yeah. Listen, let's just move on because we get to get moving and grooving, and JDC had his final moving and grooving, his final dance. This match was one that I personally was very much looking forward to because I thought it would be the sleeper hit of the night, and baby, it did not miss. It was great. It was fantastic. I loved it. Edward Edwards defeats JDC in his last dance. The callbacks were great. It was a slow start, as expected, but you got everything. You got JDC I'm sorry, I'm going to blow everyone's spot here if you had notes. JDC does the Walls of Jericho, and he does the Code Breaker. You know who that's for. They even told you on commentary. He did the Claudio uppercut to Eddie's back, so you got that because those two faced off when they were doing stuff with the bar. You had the Falcon Arrow for Rollins because they had a bunch of time in FCW together. They did the White Noise off the top rope because they worked with Sheamus in the bar. They did everything they could to tell you the story of JDC's career, and I thought it was really good. Granted, a lot of it was WWE, but he also made his mark there and in FCW as well. He misses the down and dirty, which is the big leg drop. Eddie Edwards needs to hit 3 Boston knee parties and a die-hard driver for the win. This was a really great match. I thought it was so simple, so effective, and it was everything it needed to be. I had a conversation with someone who said, this is the way JDC should have been for the last, 2 years or 1 year. And I just said, no, I think JDC has been perfect the way he's been. And Cresta, you and I spent so many years laughing and loving what JDC's Impact character was. It was going from Man, I Hate Wrestling to Hey Town, and just every stupid gimmick you could think of, JDC did it while saying no gimmicks needed. I want your thoughts on the match. And of course, you got to watch JDC in this Impact run, and just your thoughts as he wraps up with his final match in TNA.
So I've only ever known JDC from his TNA run. I wasn't watching WWE when he was in the Fashion Police. I have to tell you, him going, man, I hate professional wrestling, and then proceeded to be the biggest mark you ever did see with those video packages. That was, I popped. That was cinema to me. And then to come out and say, hey, shut up, town, was great. This was one of 2 matches tonight that I really didn't take notes for. And not because I didn't pay attention, but more like I wanted to just be in the moment. Because then they said he had the Sabu reference to the gear. I was like, oh, he's locked in. It normally takes 1 Boston knee party to take him out. And JDC, in my opinion, who's been such a jokey joke character, to have to take 3. Of course, they hit the "I love you, I'm sorry," which I feel like becomes a staple now in everyone's retirement. And it's like, man, I wish that there was more of this JDC to an extent, but I don't regret the shut up town. I don't regret his addition to the system. And if anything, it's like maybe not full time, but maybe part time. But I think they said this on commentary, or Eddie Edwards had said it. It's one thing to retire, but it's another thing to go out on your own terms while you're still standing, while you're still who you are, and that opportunity or that isn't taken away for you. So if he comes back, he comes back. I wish him the best in whatever he does. But this match was great. I didn't know that JDC had all that history with Chris Jericho, and the way that they kept mentioning Chris Jericho, I was like, ugh. But also, I reeled that back in because Chris Jericho for TNA would literally be a boon, and people would literally turn in. Whether you hate him or love him, you're gonna tune in. So I don't hate it. They're gonna do all those references. If it was just for whatever WrestleMania moment they may have had, sure. But if Chris Jericho's a free agent, charity work would be TNA, and it would really help.
Jensen, did you think at all that this would be a big swerve and JDC wouldn't actually retire?
I didn't really expect it to be a big swerve. Well, I mean, especially we've seen so many pro wrestling retirements lately, which like I guess could leave either, it could lead you to believe it's a big swerve because we have seen so many, or it's like if you're going to retire, now is kind of the time because like it's kind of the thing to do right now. It sounded like the time was just right for him. It sounded like it's like the best thing for his family right now, and there was a lot of good stuff, about this match. I will say this, and this isn't a knock on JDC. Like, I think this might have been my favorite match I've ever seen him have in his entire career. Like, I really thought this was really like, because he came out, like the system comes out together. They both entered to the same ring music, like they were, unified, called them brothers that whole time. JDC's wearing the Terry Funk gear with the forever on it. It's like, so there's a lot of, when I saw the Terry Funk gear, I was like, okay, he's actually retiring, and like you're gonna do this in Texas, even though of course Terry Funk never he retired like 1,000 times.
Yeah, that's
I know. I get what you're saying. I see what you're saying with Terry Funk. Famously did not retire many times when he said he was going to. But I thought this was really really solid. You mentioned most of the spots that I was going to bring up. I thought it was really cool though, especially the nod to Chris Jericho, with that being his debut as Fandango in WWE and actually beating Chris Jericho that night. They mentioned that on commentary as well, the biggest win of his career. So a Walls of Jericho right into a code breaker. I love seeing that. No matter what anyone else says, I mean, people know how biased I am. My favorite pro wrestler of all time is right behind me. He's all over the place. American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. My favorite pro wrestler of all time for the majority of my life was Chris Jericho. And I do hope to see, I'm interested to see what he does next, even though I know a lot of people hate him at this point for various reasons. But, I liked hearing the Jericho stuff on commentary. And then we had all those, tributes, nods to, wrestlers he has history with, as you mentioned. So yeah, this was really solid stuff. I really enjoyed this. And this is also another thing where, Eddie Edwards, I think, gets kind of a bad rap in some ways, where like, he's been around TNA forever, and like I feel like people never get that excited for like his big matches and stuff, but he always like totally like pulls through. Like his matches are always very good, even though I feel like we're not ever like really that interested. And then going into this, it's like, the pressure of like, he's your good friend, you have all this history, you want to make sure his retirement is great, and he chose you for this and everything. And so I think a lot of credit goes to Eddie Edwards also, because like it took two to tango in there, two to Fandango in there, to Dango in there.
Oh.
So
this
Bazing.
Stop it. This was actually something that came up. It was Turning Point 2023 when they went to the UK, and the match was Will Ospreay and Edward Edwards, and not everyone, but many people were like, "Oh God, why? That sucks." And I remember sitting there being like, "No, you don't understand. You may not like the announcement of the match, but you really don't understand what these two are going to do in this match. And people are maybe going to go, oh, it was all Ospreay. But no. 2 to Tango, 2 to Fandango, and Eddie Edwards and Will Ospreay tore it up that night. So Edwards deserves his flowers. He recently said, I'm going to do this till the wheels come off. And it doesn't look like they're going to come off anytime soon. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, no, he should win the world title. But I wouldn't be upset with him making another play in the world title picture. He is a staple of TNA. He's been around for a long time. I don't know long-term what he would like to do in TNA from a storyline perspective, but eventually you're going to have to do something with the system. And you can't just go tag titles all the time. I don't know, but he continues to put up great matches and always impress in moments where no one should be as impressed as they are. You should be impressed with the way Eddie works, but you shouldn't be there and be like, I had no idea. I was like, no, you did. You've seen Eddie work. Anyway, post-match system and the baby faces all come out to celebrate JDC. Little touches that I like, by the way. They just sent out the baby faces to celebrate JDC. They didn't send out the whole locker room. They can do all that backstage. Everybody knows. And then they did a really cool top-down tracking shot of JDC going up the ramp, which they only used once. It was just from the ramp, from the top down, and I thought that was really well done. Just him going up the ramp and saying goodbye one last time to the crowd. Easy peasy. That's how you do an effective retirement. I like that. Not sure if anyone else has anything to add.
No, I agree. I agree. I thought it was a very good match. And we got to see, like, he went for that top rope leg drop one more time. And, like, he missed it. And Edwards, like you said, hit 3 Boston knee parties and that leg cross suplex. I always forget the name of. Yeah, really good stuff. Good send off.
Folks, getting your super chats, getting your humper chats like Josh is doing. Agree. TNA's got to spend that money on talent. Well, do what they do.
I want to ask the both of you, who do you think is a free agent right now that TNA could pick up to bolster any one of their divisions?
I'm gonna change your question a bit if I can.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna do this because it's topical. Who will be the replacement member in the system? Who's gonna replace JDC? Because I think that's gonna be one of those people that Cresta you are talking about, a free agent or a new sign.
I thought that's Jensen then.
I have no idea. Like, I don't know who they're interested in. But I know obviously they are going to debut someone new in the system on Thursday. I don't really have anyone in mind. I mean, there's a lot of good talent on the indies, but like I would, I could say about so many different people. Like, there's plenty of people who deserve to get signed. I just don't know who TNA is. And then also it's got to be someone who like fits in well with those guys, like that fits in with Myers, Moose, Alicia, Eddie, those guys. There's a lot of good names in the chat. Like, people are saying, like, Titus Alexander is phenomenal. Like, yeah, he could get signed, but it's kind of random. Like Richard Holiday, I've heard there's a little bit of buzz about him. People saying EC3. Calvin Tankman. I mean, all these names are good. A lot of talent in the chat right now, but
EC3 would fit there. He'd be the worst, but he'd fit there.
So I'll give you 2. One of them is EC3, and I'll explain in a minute. The other one, believe it or not, some of y'all are going to potato me in the chat, I'm sorry, is Matt Taven. Matt Taven might be the guy who comes in. Now, with EC3, here's the reason why it works and it makes sense, and someone did allude to it. They are close with EC3, and also, back when it was Impact Wrestling and there was a lobby from certain wrestlers to become TNA again, they called themselves ZNA. They were kind of a group of guys. It was Moose, it was Edward Edwards, it was EC3, a couple others, but they were all part of this ZNA group. And EC3 coming back to do ZNA as the system might be the play. I don't know where EC3 is landing. I know he put out that video with the, Mama Dixie coming back, and she was back on Thursday for a cameo appearance, blah, blah, blah. It would fit. It would be okay. It wouldn't break the bank for them, at least. And Matt Taven is just off of his AEW run, and so he could easily slot in because he's got TV experience. He's a former world champion. He has it. You can run with it. It's not my favorite, but in a group of guys that you're like, they're not my favorite, but they have great matches, they're all serviceable.
Yeah, that means the Mike Kanellis is on his way back, and we got Honor No More. Let's go. Back in the saddle. Part 2 Electric Boogaloo.
First of all, you honor the system.
Oh, listen, I honor the system, and I acknowledge my tribal chief. So,
someone asking what's Baron Corbin up to? Tom Pestic, also known as Bishop Dyer, is one half of the MLW Tag Team Champions. So
I do see Cross. Killer Cross would be cute, but he would not fit in the system. He would kill those guys, actually.
Cross is also still working MLW, so there you go. But anyway, we can move on. Right now,
sorry, I had one name just like random. I haven't seen his name in the chat, but just randomly like a name that I thought of because I'm thinking, you know, Brian Myers obviously runs Create a Pro, and like there's a lot of people that could potentially come from there into TNA. Bryce Donovan is a name that I've been like trying to keep my eye out on because he was ID talent, but isn't anymore, and he's super talented. Has a lot of people vouching for him, and like he's a good example of like never been a star on any company. If TNA wants new people on their show that haven't been anywhere else, you know, he's got that Create a Pro link. So I'm just kind of, you know, maybe keep your eye on anyone out of Create a Pro also maybe joining the system potentially.
Fuck it, Bear Bronson to join the system.
I mean, that's kind of random too, but I know he's done stuff with TNA. I wouldn't be surprised if Bear Bronson like signed to TNA.
He is.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But also, do you know who his trainer was?
Amazing Red. I don't know. I just
Brian Myers.
There.
Brian Myers.
Oh, it was Brian Myers. I didn't even think about that. He is. Yeah, good call. Good call.
Let's just have him join.
That's a good connection right there. There you go. I was thinking too deep. Bear Bronson is makes a bit more sense because he already has a little bit of a little experience in TNA. There's already buzz around the idea of him, you know, doing stuff in TNA going forward. So
see, this is why you have to watch the weekly show. Bear Bronson is not the number one contender for the TNA title. He had that match, and it was really great. He had a match against Kazarian. It was on the January 1st episode. They have not shown him on TV since, and that really upsets me because they could have done something, but they haven't done a thing. So here I am. Bear Bronson joins the system. You keep him off TV long enough to make it sound like they were waiting for a moment. That's what we're going to do. Just follow me. We're done. Ryan Nemeth defeats Mara Sade. I have nothing to say other than I appreciate Tom Hannafin putting over that TNA does something different. They do intergender matches because AEW doesn't traditionally do them. WWE doesn't traditionally do them in a women versus men format. Of all the televised wrestling products out there, TNA is the only one that does it, and they have historically. And then they gave us this match, and it wasn't very good, but Ryan grabs the ropes. He gets the win. The referee doesn't see because the refs are all stupid in TNA, and he gets the win. I don't know if anyone has anything to say about it. I'll start with Cresta Starr.
Man, who was this match for?
It was for
Very
Ryan.
Respectfully. Who is this match? No, because like, okay, boom. I'm going to sound like for a second. The whole point of wrestling, I thought, was to make somebody else look good. I think he looked like a dork having to cheat, and I don't think it made her look any good because she had all that fire to get beat by the lowest guy on the totem pole for all intents and purposes. So either y'all couldn't find talent for Mara Sade to wrestle, or there was no guy willing to mix it up with him, or just kayfabe. I don't know what they do in the backstage. That's not my job. But I don't know who this match was for. Yikes. When he won, I was like, damn, the other Nemeth is cashing in and beating Santana, huh? I don't know who this was for. Prison sentence. That's my final answer.
Jensen, was it for you?
No, this was not for me. I thought it was kind of listen, I'm with you on like the intergender thing. Like I've talked about that. What's that? Cresta?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yourself? Oh, the cat is sentient.
Okay, no. Okay, I'm back because y'all just started sounding like robots. My apologies.
Okay, no, we're good.
I was just to make a point.
I was just saying, like, you know, I've been saying forever about how I think one of the things TNA does that I think is smart is doing the intergender wrestling because it just the other major companies don't really do it. And TNA obviously has had a female world champion. They've had some of the majority of the stars that I think are synonymous with the TNA brand, especially over like the last handful of years, most of them probably are women. And I've liked the intergender aspect of TNA. But like when it came to this match, it just seemed strange because it was like, I don't know. I just got this, it was just like a weird vibe to me. It's like Ryan Nemeth is like beating up this woman because she won't kiss him and stuff. It was just like kind of weird. And then like the match wasn't good. And Sade's gear, like it looked like her gear was like it was the style of it made it look like her gear was like falling off. I was like distracted by the gear, and I was like, Like everything about, and then the pin and the finish was terrible because the referee counted 3 and wasn't looking anywhere near their shoulders. Like it was just like, what? I don't know why they put this on pay-per-view.
Yeah, this could have been on Thursday. This could have been on Thursday.
This could have been on the pre-show. Anyway,
I just wouldn't have done this at all. I will say I think that Sade like looked better in the ring than Nemeth did. Like she actually hit some pretty clean spots.
Yeah, that was also kind of embarrassing.
Well, I don't want to get that into. I've just never been a fan of Ryan Nemeth, so it doesn't help. I used to have to. Joel knows this. I used to have to cover BTE weekly. That guy killed the show. I mean, like I have deep thoughts on Ryan Nemeth. You can talk all day about the whole AEW stuff and whatever. There's just this long list of like, so Ryan Nemeth, when I see Ryan Nemeth on my TV, it's already an uphill battle. And then like a match like this happens, and I'm just like, you wasted everyone's time by putting this on pay-per-view.
First of all, how dare you? Cream was a hell of a time on BTE.
Yeah, it's not coincidental at all that like the views tanked, the show canceled. Yeah, right around the time he became very prominent on it.
Yeah, that was an awful time. He was trying so hard, but he was trying the worst.
like they tried, like he was genuinely so bad that they tried to lean into it being that he was so bad he was funny, but it just never. If there was like a circle of like humor that like somehow went from like the point of really, really funny to like so unfunny it becomes funny, he just never made it around the circle. He got stuck somewhere in there where it's like, it just never was funny.
I like Ryan Nemeth's character right now. I think he's being full of himself is perfect. He should never be taken seriously. And like, I didn't mind the Mara Sade keeps super kicking him. Like a repetitive, stupid bit between two wrestlers that are not exactly at the top of the card. I can deal with that. Did not need to be a pay-per-view match. Could have been a TV match easily. They played it off and thought it would be a good idea. I thought maybe they thought that they could get cute and be like, well, Ryan's, won the match, so now we can say one Nemeth won, which Nemeth is going to walk out as champion. They could have done something stupid. But anyway, it happened. We can stop talking about it. Knockouts titles on the line. Laying Lee, the champion, defends against Zaria. She wins, does Laying Lee. They do a cannonball in the corner. Zaria to Laying Lee. That was harsh. A belly-to-back suplex from the apron to the floor that looked really good. A lot of just these two women working really hard because of the situation they were put in regarding Danny Luna not being available for the match. But they went out. They had a really, really great match. However, here we go. The Elegance come out once again. They're checking on the match because of the triple threat #1 contendership match that's happening on NXT between a bunch of NXT wrestlers to determine the #1 contenders for the Knockouts tag titles, because of course there are only 3 Knockouts tag teams in the division. They do another referee spot where a referee goes down. The Elegance come down. Zaya Brookside and Sol Ruka take them out. Sol Ruka has very comical punches. Please go back and watch. She's trying to beat them. She's doing this up the ring. I'm just gonna move my fist like this, and if you get hit, it's your own fault. And it just wasn't very good. They set back up. The crowd gets back into the match. Thankfully, Lee does the spinning heel kick into the Warriors way. She gets the win. And the match again. We'll talk about post match afterwards, but the match itself did not need the shenanigans in the middle. It almost plays to giving away what's going to happen on Tuesday and who's going to get the #1 contendership spot. That was a little bit more than I needed. But Jensen, you watched it. Your thoughts on Lee defending successfully the Knockouts title? There you go.
I thought this match was really good. I thought both women I could have done without all the extra stuff with like Brookside and Sol having to take out the Elegance brand, as you were mentioning, like fight to the back and all that. You really didn't need any of that. But as far as like just the actual one-on-one match between Lee and Zaria, I thought it was really solid. A couple additional notes I have here. Zaria has a really, really nice Texas Cloverleaf. That's one of my favorite submission holds in the history of wrestling. And sometimes when people do submission holds, they get a little off balance or like they don't lock it in quite right or whatever. She locks that thing in beautifully. And then there was a spot where Lee fights out of the Texas Cloverleaf and then like pretty much flowed into an STF. And so like I just thought it was done. All that was done really well. I liked how Lee puts a different spin on like the punches in the corner. She does hammer fists on the top instead of the punches, which is a nice, like, it's a little thing, but it's like, I'm a lifelong UFC fan. So it's like, I'm seeing her doing, I'm sitting there going, she's doing hammer fists. I like that. That's something different. It's such an easy little tweak, but it makes her unique. And then she hits a nice pump handle exploder coming out of that also. That spot happens that you mentioned, Joel, that I thought was great, where Zaria fights out of a rear naked choke by doing a corner cannonball with both of them flying into the corner. That was a nasty spot. Ref got knocked down on a F5 attempt, whatever Zaria calls her F5. I'm bad about remembering all the names of the moves sometimes. But yeah, this was all really good outside of like the extra shenanigans. And you know, the Warrior's Way is a nice finisher too. Basically, you know, a inverted angle slam essentially. The name Warrior's Way also is like a deep cut TNA throwback. That was Zenshi, aka Loki's, the name of his double stomps. He used to call it the Warrior's Way. So throw that out there as well for all the old school TNA fans here in the chat today. So
I totally forgotten about that. And Lang Lee and Zaya Brookside are the Angel Warriors. So that's how I always just like go. But anyway, Cresta, you watched the match. What do you think of the Knockouts World Title?
I'm going to tell you the only 3 things I found bad about this. Again, the Elegance brand. Why are you here? Unnecessary. Didn't need that. It kind of did. It chaffed my balls the way they were putting over the women's division after Mara Sade just lost to Ryan Nemeth. Yikers. That sucked. That sucked. I forgot what the third bad thing was. So I'm gonna go to the good stuff. Man, y'all know I love a big meaty women slapping meat. This Zaria lady, I don't watch NXT. But damn, she was beating up Ying Lee. I did not like that. I did not like you beating up my champ. But also, I need them to wrestle again because this match was stiff, especially towards the last end where they were just throwing like forearms at each other. It kind of looked like they were fighting. It was very reminiscent to me of Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace at the part of the match. Were like, okay, I can't stand you no more. Now you gotta die. This match was great. I can see a world where TNA puts the belt on Zaria, and I don't like that for TNA. But TNA is not they're not standing up right now. So if that's what it is what it is. But this match was great. I don't think it needed all the interference. I think this match could just breathe on its own. I like that they also gave it time. I like the Elena Black's boots. That's the other nice thing I have to say.
So,
sorry. Real quick. I'm glad you mentioned them trading strikes, Cresta, because I actually wrote in my notes as well. I put both are trading strikes, and the strikes look great. Like that was my because like the two of them, I thought that at the end of the match, Zaria was throwing great punches. Lee was countering with great forearms. Like I'm glad that you brought that up because I actually thought that was really good towards the end of the match as well. Go ahead, Joel. I know that there was some post-match stuff we got to get to.
Post-match, I know, people, you're really excited to see me do this. Elena Black comes out to confront Lang Lee. She doesn't do this, but we're just going to do it anyway because we're here.
I'll try to do it on the cat for you. She's not happy.
Emo cry face. Anyway, she's out. By the way, plug for Fightful Select. Why should you subscribe to Fightful Select? Well, we revealed that Elena Black is signed to a 1-year deal with TNA. That was today over on FightfulSelect.com. The best, however much we charge for it on the business. Go to FightfulSelect.com. I can't remember how much we charge, but we have a ton of content. The SRS 10 just dropped today. I promise it's not after midnight here, and I'm not brain dead, but we're here. And you need to subscribe to Fightful Select because there was a Q&A that dropped today. Sean did it. We got plenty of stuff coming up with, again, free agency and people leaving and people going. The Rascals signed with AEW. That was part of Fightful Select. We reported that. Powerhouse Hobbs, he's done with AEW tonight. After that collision match, by the way, the trios match that aired tonight. After that, guess who was off the roster page? Powerhouse Hobbs. So there you go. Usually in AEW, that's a pretty good indicator that that's it for your contract. So there you go. Hobbs. That was a thing we reported. FightfulSelect.com. Best money in the business. Elena Black, 1 year. We did that. Great. Wonderful. Tag titles. This happened. The Hardys beat the Righteous. Yeah. I don't really have much to say about this match because there wasn't much to say other than, they're going to do this again because the match had a lot of awkwardness.
I got you, Joel. I can fill in. I can fill in if you want.
I mean, just the not great. They do it. Okay. Can I just get this? Righteous hit a twist of fate and Swanton combo. Okay, they do the Hardys combo. And then they, for some reason, Vincent rolls Matt to the other side of the ring because Jeff's on the other side of the ring and I guess wasn't going to make it on time to do the count break because Jeff was outside and he had to pull out. So they had to do a whole thing where shenanigans got involved. And then Dutch grabs the mic. And after he had failed to do a senton on Jeff Hardy, he's like, hey, we just wanted to make you hurt. And the crowd is chanting, shut the F up at the Righteous. So Matt and Jeff do their Twist of Fate Swanton combo. They get the win. And basically this match is happening again. But post-match, Dutch basically baby faces himself in my eyes, and he stops Carlos Silva from presenting the Hardys with the titles. And instead, the Righteous present the titles to the Hardys, and they're just like, give me my titles. Was not a match that needed to happen, especially on pay-per-view. This whole story has been Matt Hardy gets bullied by the Righteous, and then finally they realized, oh, there's another brother we need to torment, and they did it on Thursday. So I guess now, Jensen, go ahead. You can talk about this bomb-ass of a match because it wasn't very good.
So, yeah, I'll just kind of fill in the blanks a little bit with kind of what happened throughout this match a little bit. So it started off with the Hardys attacking the Righteous before the bell even rang, and they were fighting like while their entrance music was still playing, which was kind of cool because the Hardys have a banger theme song, forever. So I thought that was a pretty good start to the match. Commentary did a good job of making sure everybody was aware that Vincent used to like try to be like Jeff Hardy. You guys can do your own research into how much he really did want to be like Jeff Hardy. But they have like a shrine to the Hardys. They mentioned that on commentary as well. There was a weird spot during this one where Jeff puts Vincent in like the setup to the Sister Abigail, and it's a callback to him, Vincent going in his ear previously, but like Jeff's kind of just like pulling his beard. It looks like I wasn't really sure what he was actually doing while he was holding him there. Looked kind of weird. There was a really nice spot. Forget what they call it, but it's like when Jeff does the like the twist of fate into the stunner, and then Matt immediately hits his like reverse twist of fate like back to back. That was really nice. They hit it perfectly. Dutch and Vincent steal the Hardys' moves. Dutch hits the twist of fate. Vincent hits the swanton on Matt, but Jeff breaks up the pin. Then it gets to kind of where you were talking about, Joel, where Dutch misses a senton from the apron down to the floor because Jeff moves out of the way. And then where I think you are confused or I'm confused. One of us is confused about this, but either way, it doesn't really matter. But I believe you had just said that Dutch got on the microphone and he said that he was just trying to make the Hardys hurt. I understood that as, no, we like getting hurt. Like you've hurt, like, thank you for hurting us. Like we like to hurt, not we like to hurt you. We like to be hurt. And then they let Matt and Jeff hit the swanton, the twist of fate swanton combo, and then looked happy that they had lost the match afterwards.
Oh, it's a kink thing.
It's a kink thing, and we can move on.
They get off on it. I see. Cresta, your thoughts on this kink thing?
Ah, man.
And the match.
We squirt people, I guess. I don't know.
There you go.
First complaint, cut the fucking music. I just got flashbacks of the bodies or when they let everyone else's music play too long. I love the Hardys theme too, but turn the music off. Like, no, just stop. I hate that trope. That's one trope in wrestling that doesn't need to catch on. It needs to go. I don't know, man. I like the Hardys, but I like them. I like the Hardys. I don't know. I don't like this. I think chat alluded to it too. It's like the Hardys may be cooked, I fear. And I'm like, there's a way to book them. And I just think the Righteous aren't the right people to go against them. Also, you lost every tag team, damn near. The Rascals leaving for you guys was a blow. So I get it. But I don't know. And maybe it's because the Righteous is unsettling to me. Why you stick your tongue out like that? I don't like that. That makes sense. That's creepy. That's not even creepy funny. I'm unsettled.
So here's the thing. I like the Righteous. I think that they are a great fit for TNA. I do not like how they introduced them, and I didn't like that they basically set them up with the Hardys immediately because they wanted to work with the Hardys and make it seem like a big deal, but there's no moving up the card. They just got the title match because they took Matt Hardy hostage, kind of, but not really, and then showed them photos of their family that they probably printed out from the internet, and that was that. With candles as well. There just wasn't. They tried to make something heated out of this, but there was no heat involved. So I think there's more that you can do with the Righteous, and it looks like this will continue. Commentary sure as shit made you feel that way, so it feels like they're going to do it. But there was a disconnect with the match itself. There was some chemistry there, but it wasn't really clicking. I'm hoping if they're going to do it again, that they find, I'm just going to be honest with you, it's probably going to be some sort of street fight. It's going to be some sort of plunder match, which is going to make the match better between these four, because the Hardys can do plunder matches now. And that'll be that. Maybe the Righteous win, or they go to a third match when the Righteous do actually win, or the Righteous win and then the Hardys win it right back, and we're just back to square one, and who knows what happens. But
I think that it's going to head towards a broken something. Like you're gonna
I
get
think
like
a broken
universe match, because like I mean, like if they're gonna do it, like this is the team that they're gonna try to do that with, based on like what they're showing us. I think.
Why did I open my mouth about this?
Yeah,
what I'm just saying, like, does that not make sense? Like, is this
Oh.
not like the only scenario that actually?
Right.
I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying I could totally see how they're gonna do that.
So you're
It
right,
makes sense.
and this is why I shouldn't be upset, because I said this multiple times on multiple shows, and I'm not saying that my opinion matters or that it counts for people who are listening, but I said one of the things that TNA should absolutely lead into is the fact that they have all of these multi-universe things that they've done over the course of their entire lives that have been popular, not for everyone, but there's always a group of people that ride or die with them. Hardy Compound, the Undead Realm, Wrestle House. There are always things that they've done that have been outside of the box of pro wrestling, and I always appreciated that, because they took the chance, and whether they passed or failed, they still did it. And I was like, you got to bring back stuff like that, because some fans are going to love it, and you got to introduce new outside the box, not wrestling ring related wrestling, to make TNA different. Because the idea of this number 2 rhetoric, I said, gotta stop it. You're trying to poke the bear, and the bear owns an NFL team and has another wrestling company that can buy out your talent 3 ways from Sunday. So
they're doing it.
And they're doing it. They're actively doing it. So instead of poking the bear, why don't you focus on the things that make you unique? And that's why I liked Hannafin talking about intergender wrestling happening on the show. It's something different that does separate you from the pack. So while I don't necessarily need the Hardy Compound, I can't hate it, because it's exactly the type of thing that they should be leaning into to differentiate them from all the other wrestling that's out there.
I agree. I think they're going to do it.
As long as it's not a gymnasium like they did in ROH, where they just when they introduced Dutch for the first time to the Righteous, I was like, huh? This is just a gym. Anyway, not important. It's done. That was during COVID, I think. Anyway, triple threat match. This was a surprisingly good and confusing match. This seems to be a theme tonight. Joe Hendry defeats Moose and Cedric Alexander. So this was supposed to be Leon Slater. Leon Slater was supposed to defend his X Division championship against Moose and Cedric Alexander. Was very much looking forward to this match. Then he ended up having to go back to the UK, presumably some visa stuff. Also, WWE was like, oh, we'll make use of him. And they did. He opened the US Open Challenge yesterday on SmackDown, had a great match with Carmelo Hayes. Slater sent in a video being like, hey, sorry, couldn't be here. Would love to be with TNA, but, I'm here in the UK and I got to wrestle on SmackDown. So LOL, see you on WWE programming. So anyway, Joe Hendry wins this match. This match was about Moose, though, because
yes,
early in the match, Moose gets back body dropped onto the ringside steps by Joe Hendry. And then this was what really bugged me. So I'm sorry, Tom Hannafin. You started talking about it. You were like, oh, on Busted Open, they kept talking about how Moose has these injuries. I'm like, oh, so you're just telling us it's a work. And then they did the other thing that makes it a work for every single wrestling show you can imagine. And that's showing us the injury and showing us the people being they're checking on Moose, and it's just really obnoxious. Moose rejoins the match, does a bunch of stuff while he's trying to sell his back, a bunch of back bumps hilariously, and he's just selling his back and he's doing the thing. And like, sure, he's trying to do Spirit of 76, he's having fun with it, and it's fine. Later on in the match, Cedric hits his Styles Clash because no one else could tell them that, hey, someone else did a Styles Clash in the match earlier, so maybe you shouldn't do a Styles Clash this match too. Everyone's wanting to pay homage to AJ Styles, and AJ's like, I'm not wrestling for you guys. Stop trying. Anyway, Cedric gets a lumbar check on Moose. Hendry jumps in, hits a standing ovation, and pins Cedric Alexander. So basically, coming to NXT near you, an X Division title match between Leon Slater and Joe Hendry, because both men, one is already signed to WWE, the other one is basically 1 foot out the door. Cresta Starr, how do you feel about Joe Hendry winning a match, coming back to TNA, and bringing it home for WWE?
On the one hand, Damn, TNA, stand up. Let a TNA wrestler win in WWE. Stand up. On the other hand, I believe in Joe Hendry. I've seen you job him, and it sucks that he had to go to WWE to get a win in TNA. But hey, my guy won. The time they had me in the very beginning because I thought Moose dead ass hurt himself. I was like, okay, no, Moose is in trouble. But they kept showing. I was like, all right, I don't care anymore. You're just gonna run back in at the end of the match. But that to me was like, okay, Moose is gonna win. When Joe Hendry won, I was like, personally a stan, loved it, great. The match to me was fine. Also, I want to call out Carlos Silva. I don't know if this is the character or if this is just like the thing. But you can't be giving out belts to people who cheat and then come out and be like, is he okay? Which one is it?
We have a super chat about that. We'll get to Carlos Silva shortly. Don't you worry.
Because it's kind of like, which one is it? Because it's given dork. And I don't know if that's the character, if that's what it's supposed to be or whatever it is. But that whole thing, you didn't need to be there. You came out like the concerned parent, like, is he hurt? Oh no, like, should we get a bed? Like, man, sit down back in the front. That was just a little bit of irritating. But it was very clear that this was supposed to be the Leon Slater spot. Not upset at Joe Hendry for stepping up. That point, Moose took all them steel steps to the back. He's dead. Because he did. That spot was very believable. Moose hit the old man like, you blew my back out. I cannot move. I'm dead for the next 3 days. I'm not mad at it. Only person I feel bad for is Cedric Alexander. Because what are we doing with this young man? What's happening there? But this match was fine. I love Joe Hendry. So 10 out of 10 in the Tokyo Dome.
Jensen, do you think that this was the match exactly how it was going to be if Leon Slater had actually been in it?
Like that they would have just tried to do this exact match. It's interesting because like it didn't go unnoticed that Joe Hendry like started the match off with like a Hurricane Rana, like you know what I mean. So
he's on FaceTime with Leon Slater. What spots were you going to do? I'm going to do them for you.
Yes. Yeah, I can just imagine Leon. I'm not going to try to do the accent because I'd embarrass myself. But I can only imagine. Leon like FaceTiming with Joe Hendry and being like, "All right, Joe, have you ever tried doing a Swanton 450? Because like you might be able to figure it out by tonight."
There's a time for concerts. There's a time for Swanton 450.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning. I don't know if either of you mentioned it, but when Leon was talking to the crowd before the match, he did mention that I believe he said Cedric Alexander and Moose are going to both get X Division title matches also.
Or they're going to run back to triple threat. It's going to be one of those things. But also in this match, they said the winner is effectively next in line for an X Division title shot. So you basically had all options on the table at that point.
Right. Yeah. Good call. So yeah, I honestly don't have too much more to add. Like, I thought that spot with Moose on the ring steps was nasty because whether they had that planned or not, obviously, like, as you guys both mentioned, like once they start showing him being checked on over and over, like on camera, that's when you kind of know he's okay. But the actual spot was nasty. Like he hit the corner of those ring steps and Moose got some air and he is a big dude. Like that's a lot of weight and momentum, just a large man. And like that's the no matter who you are, you get that spot. I mean, notoriously, Shawn Michaels retired for 4 years because of a lower back injury, hitting that casket on the way out of the ring against Undertaker all those years ago. Like that's a very vulnerable spot, is what I'm getting at. Like when you hit the small of your back at an angle like that on something sharp, that's dangerous. So when I saw Moose hit that at first, I thought, oh damn, he might actually be hurt. But then I was glad to see that he wasn't. And then throughout the rest of the match, everything that happened to Moose or that Moose did himself, like whether, he's trying to do kip ups himself and stuff, everything he was doing, he's selling the back, which I thought was smart given what, we had just seen. And then the finish I thought was, clever as well, because Cedric hits Moose with he hits first with like a nice clothesline, I believe. And Moose like lands on his head on the bump. Like that was kind of nasty. Cedric hits a lumbar check on Moose, but then Joe Hendry hits the standing ovation onto Alexander, pins Alexander, and
match was good. It was better than I expected. Give them the
Well, I will say this: like they before this match happened, it was very obvious to me between Thursday and this show, they kept trying to really telling the crowd, we know you want to see Leon Slater. We really know you want to see Leon Slater. We really wish he was here. But this triple threat is going to be fire. Like we were telling you, this triple threat is going to be so good. So it's like pretty high expectations. But I thought, for what we got, I thought it was solid. Joe Hendry at this point, like, I just want to see him have his career in WWE. And like, I think TNA needs to, build their own guys.
Yeah.
So WWE could take them again. Because
that's going to be a nonstop issue. That's a conversation in itself because yes, obviously now with TNA, WWE having the hand in TNA's cookie jar and them keeping tabs on TNA and TNA wrestlers wrestling their wrestlers so often now, any talent that that WWE's interested in that, especially that hasn't previously worked in the WWE that's never worked there and really wants to, like WWE's is going to keep happening. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
So you say it'll be a total nonstop issue? It
will be a total nonstop issue, but it's an issue. Once again, it's a whole other conversation. Yes. We don't have to get into. It's a rabbit hole, but like it's not necessarily like it's like a kill shot. Like you can have a successful business being TNA, having a WWE partnership. There's a way to do this as if you can figure out how to continually build stars and keep that going, like, and knowing that you're going to lose people. There is a way to do it, but that's once again, that's a whole other conversation.
Also, Killshot works with the competition. Josh G from Connecticut.
Goodbye.
Okay. Yeah.
Damn it. Zaria definitely took advantage of the spot tonight. Absolutely. That was something that she came in and she delivered. I thought the Knockouts title match was very well done. Zaria filled in and took a spot that was going to be very difficult to fill. Even Joe Hendry, same thing. These were both highlighted matches on this card that were expected to be great. And the replacements, though last minute, were upsetting. They really pulled it out in the end, and they had a really good showing. And again, nobody's going to fault the wrestlers for doing good wrestling. It just sucks when sometimes the stories don't allow for you to follow through on it. But they made the most of what they got. So here we are, getting your super chats, getting your Hubbard chats. This is the final match, the main event, the TNA World title on the line in a Texas death match. Mike Santana defends successfully. His new title stays around his waist. He beats Frankie Kazarian. And technically Nick Nemeth too, though Nick Nemeth still has the call your shot gauntlet. Nick Nemeth is a special guest referee doing his HBK 2000s ass ref fit, because if there's one thing that Nick Nemeth does, it's cosplay HBK every chance he gets. It's just
he went all out. He went for the gauze as well. It was pretty noticeable. So,
the booty shorts were insane.
Have you never seen this? Go back, watch HBK.
This is a straight up HBK referee.
No, I got the reference. Yeah. I got the reference, but the booty shorts were his legs looked great.
It's fair. They did the bedazzled ref jersey. He did the hair up like HBK in 2000. The whole nine. This match, okay. Here's my gripe with Texas Death Match. First of all, everybody's doing it now. Please stop. But TNA, to their credit or detriment, continue to do it in the old-fashioned way. Joel, what's the old-fashioned way? Pin and then a 10 count. And we were talking about it in our Discord because I said I really hate the way they do it. At least it's the original. And I said they do the pin, and someone said, well, what is it? And I said pin and a 10 count. And they're like, oh, it's not so bad. And then this was after the first attempt. And then when they did the second time with the pin and the 10 count, someone was like, wait, they do the pin and 10 count every time? And I said they do. And that is why I hate it. It's not just you get one pin and then every other time is a 10 count. No. It's a pin and a 10 count. So basically you have to go a Big E Langston 13 counts to do this. Okay. That's how you win the match. So for me, I think they did a very good job of not overdoing the pin and 10 count. I thought that just having a few really set the tone. They went hard at each other throughout the entire match. They battled everywhere because, again, this match was heatless and they had to find heat in it because they weren't fighting for something other than the title. There was no reason to do a Texas Death Match because they weren't at odds in such a way that they needed to, but they found a way to make it worse. Make it work, I should say. Santana does a pile driver onto the chairs, and then they do the pin and the 10 count. So at least the crowd knew this, so they weren't all confused. And so at 9, Kazarian gets up, and then there's a cutter through a table from Kazarian on Santana, and they do the same thing, the pin and then the count. So that sets up that this is how it works. This is how the match works. Later on, Kazarian sets up a ladder and a table. Santana gets the barbed wire baseball bat. They use the bat together, and then Santana gets up on the table, or up on the ladder, I should say, does a splash through the table, and this is what I liked, is that they did not do a 3 count. They had Kazarian kick out, and that got the crowd invested. That is the only way that you can make a Texas death, in my opinion, make this Texas death match gimmick work. Eventually, doesn't matter. Kazarian spits on Santana. Santana grabs barbed wire and says, "Don't spit on me." Hit spin the block with the barbed wire wrapped around his arm. Kazarian can't get up. Santana retains the title. I will start with you, Stephen Jensen, because we'll get into the post-match shenanigans and the things that did or did not happen. What did you think Texas death and Santana retaining his title?
You hit pretty much all the big stuff. I mean, like, obviously the HBK stuff we hit on, but also Santana was wearing the face paint the same way he did when he won the world title the first time. So, that was kind of like a cool like continuity there with Santana and his character and everything. The first like kind of quote unquote big spot of the match came across kind of weird to me, only because they go into the crowd. Santana gets on a balcony, but like because of the camera angle they're using, you can see that the balcony is like up to like Dolph Ziggler's shoulder. It's like a 4-foot balcony. So it's not very high, but Santana jumps off of it, but it gets holy shit chance to their credit. So like, there's that. Everything else you mentioned, I'm with you. The only thing that I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you about, but like that spot where, just because of the way that this type of match works, when Santana hit the frog splash off the ladder through the table and then Kaz still kicked out at 2, my thought was like, why did he even kick out at 2? Because like he just stand up before 10 still. You know what I mean? And like, but that's more of an issue with like the way that the rules of the match even are. Like, and I agree that the rules aren't optimal for like the 2026 wrestling fan. I don't think that, it kind of backwards in certain ways how they're doing that. Like, you might as well just make it like a last man standing rules match if you're going to do it. Just, you get knocked down, you don't get up by 10, you lose, or something like that. I think it's kind of like overkill to have to pin somebody for 3 and then wait for them 10 seconds after that. But because my other thing is too, like, okay, you kick out at 2. What if you still couldn't get up after 10 after that? That's like kind of weird. But anyway, I digress. The right person won at the end of the day. Mike Santana retaining the championship was the right move. And I like the finish as well, where, Kaz just straight up spits on Santana and Santana just nails him with spin the block with his arm covered in barbed wire. And that also should be the finish. Like, when you hit your finishing move with barbed wire in like any kind of match, like that's good enough for me. Like, I don't need to see anything crazier than that. Like, so, good stuff. And it was way better than the finish of their match on Thursday, where I don't even know what they were going. Like, Mike Santana hit spin the block and then tried to do like another one at the end that they tried to do like a roll through on that looked weird. It was like a weird botch at that. So it was just like, that didn't even come across right either. So they nailed it here, I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, this was a good finish. I don't love the match rules, but it also wasn't, Cresta, I know you're not big into like, a lot of blood and like death match wrestling in general and stuff, but this wasn't any kind of overkill.
Not at all.
This was much more of like a hardcore match. Ironically enough, Kazarian got busted open to the ear like really early on, and something that wasn't supposed to cause him to bleed. Just happened that is what drew blood of all things. So that's my thoughts on the actual match. In Cresta, I'll go over to you, and then I know we have the thing that happened after the match to get to as well.
Bam. So I'll make this short and sweet because it's almost 1 a.m. and I know we're all tired. Kazarian looked great. The right person won. Absolutely. I think Santana not winning here would have really disenfranchised me. I had made the joke on Twitter and said, I'll do a line on stream if that's what happens. So I'm glad I don't have to draw a line on the paper to fool you guys. Because I honestly, especially after what happened before last time when you built up this man, you built him up and then he won and then he lost the next day. Okay, that's stupid. That's stupid. But I'll give you whatever. I'm glad he won. This match, it wasn't bloody. So this is the type of, to Joel and your point, Stephen and Joel, this is not a Texas death match. This could have been a no DQ, falls count anywhere. I think Hell in a Cell, Texas death matches are reserved for people. Like, I don't care if the title's online or not. I hate you. By sheer force of will, like with the 3 count and then the 10 count, that's some sheer force of will. Like, no, I hate this guy. Like on some Sabu hating Hulk Hogan, I gotta get up because I hate this guy. I gotta get up. It was fine. It was fine. I won't lie. I will give Nick Nemeth his flowers. When he counted 3 and it was a very clear 2, he just stood on business. Like, they said, "Ref, you suck," but he's like, "I don't care. This match is continuing." So it was an okay match. It was the better, in my opinion, of all of them. Of all of theirs, but not the best of Mike Santana's that I've seen.
So post-match, Nick Nemeth raises the hand of Mike Santana. Carlos Silva got into the ring to present the title, and my favorite part is, if you're watching, Nick Nemeth basically says, "All right, get out of the ring. We're about to..."
Bro, I saw that.
That was my favorite. And so it's going to lay into a super chat in a minute, but the announce team is surprised as Nick Nemeth hits the zigzag polywag. Nick Nemeth wants a belt. Sorry, I haven't done it in so long that I forgot my own gimmick. But either way, Nick Nemeth does the thing, the knick-knack. That's what it's called. Knick-knack, polywog, Ziggler wants it. I'm done. Anyway, he tries to do it, and Daniel Spencer takes forever to get to the ring, so we're going to have to wait a while to do the actual call your shot cash in. So Santana goes off the air as the champion, but of course, nobody's safe in TNA. By this Thursday, he could easily be losing that title once again. We're just drawing this whole thing out. But Nick Nemeth does try to cash in, but now they're going to start doing the Money in the Bank teasing, and the referee's not going to get there. And then eventually the referee's going to come in and they're going to be like, "Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you totally sure? Do you really want to do it? Are you totally sure you want to cash in? Is this what you want to do?" And I really hope we don't go that route, but it feels like after tonight, Cresta, that is exactly what they started with. Nick Nemeth tries, does not cash in.
It's very WWE. Come on, baby. This is WWE light. I could do without that. I really could do without that, but I won't lie. The last 3 call your shot winners, I've been lackluster to me, with Bully Ray, Kazarian, and then Kazarian and Nemeth being co-winners. I don't think either all 3 of those men didn't need it. Bully Ray could just walk in and do what he wants pretty much. I think that the time for Nick Nemeth to be champion has long sailed. Like, you should have been did that, but also you should have been put it on Joe Hendry, Santana. I don't know. I feel bad for Kazarian in this sense because, he hasn't won it. But what were they doing when you should have won it? Oh, okay. All right. Well.
You forgot about Jordan Grace.
She won the Goya. She called the Goya shot between those.
She got to call your shot in 23. Bully won 22.
But Jordan was like, that was good though. Like, she actually used it to win the Knockouts title, and I'm just
correcting Cresta because she said the last 3, but it's the last 3 of 4. I get it. I'm just messing up.
Thank you. I'm old. I forget.
We're all tired. I just looked it up. I was like, didn't Jordan win one of these? Anyway, Jensen, I get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree about, outside of Jordan Grace, all the other recent winners of this trophy, I would have went with other choices as well, 100%. Like, I thought that when Kaz won it last year, I thought that was a terrible decision, and then like he didn't cash it in successfully, and I thought that was a good decision. And then they like ran that back this year, and I was like, why would you do this? And then to me, it just kind of seems like there was literally no point. And like, listen, good for Kaz. Like, he's had a long career. I've been I was a fan of his 20 years ago when he was, in TNA, and when he was wrestling on Velocity and all that stuff, when he didn't want to cut his hair. Everyone knows that story. I think that, it was for his sake. It's cool that he got a world title. He had the run in AEW, and he kind of like left on his own terms and, tried his hand over here and stuff. But me personally, I didn't have any interest in Kaz being the TNA world champion in 2026, at his age, or kind of like where he's at in his career. I just wasn't interested. And I was especially not interested because he co-won it with Nemeth. So where we're at right now, especially in hindsight, there was literally no reason for Kaz to win the gauntlet and there was no reason for Kaz to have this title reign, because literally all it accomplished in any way, shape, or form was it pissed off the TNA fans that Mike Santana lost the title to him so quickly. And everyone just knows it's this looming thing with Nick Nemeth. And all anyone really wanted for all this time was Santana just to get a run with the title. And they dragged their feet on it, and they should have done it in New York, and then they didn't do it there, and they dragged it on, and then they finally did it, and then they just did everything that I just mentioned. And we could have gotten to Nemeth versus Santana for the world title without Kaz being involved in any of it this whole time. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. But I'm glad that Santana is the champion. Like, he's the one that the fans chose. He should be their champion. And I don't think that, like, just for what it's worth, I don't think that TNA can operate in fear. They can't operate in fear. You can't operate in a way where you're like, if we push this guy, he's just going to get signed to the WWE. Screw it. Like, you push people, like, go with what the fans want. Push good talent. Like, make new stars. Become that at the very least, become that for the WWE. You have a relationship with the largest professional wrestling company in the world. It's mutually beneficial. You can go into a lot of stuff as to who's getting more out of this than other. I get all that. But at the end of the day, is it really the worst position in the world to be in? You have a show on AMC. You're locked in. Like, you got a good deal. Build new stars. And if you lose them, you lose them. Continue to build new stars. You're in a pretty good spot right now. So that's, in a nutshell, kind of how I feel. Like, push Santana. And, like, I'll tell you what. I'll make a bold prediction right now. The WWE is going to sign Mike Santana at some point. It's going to inevitably happen.
Yep.
That doesn't mean don't make him the world champion right now and give him a run with their title. So that's how I feel about it.
Well, Missing the Boat is a TNA special. So
yeah,
it's not even that. It's not missing the boat. What they do is they take the boat, and when they get to the bridge, instead of going on the bridge or under the bridge, they go up and over the bridge, and then they go around the bridge, and then they decide to circle the bay 3 more times, and then they decide to eventually go up and around the bridge again, come around, and then eventually go under the bridge. But at that point, the bridge is already collapsed, so you could have just gone the other way. So that has been
what I said about Mike Santana. You could have also said about Joe Hendry before that.
Yep.
And
by the way,
before that, and you could have said it about. You can go way back, and every era has that.
And by the way, Nick Nemeth was the world champion not that long ago, and like had the run that we've already seen him like return to TNA and like have a world championship reign. Like I don't know how many TNA fans are like it's a double-edged sword. I'm kind of on both sides of it. I understand why you would want to do Nemeth versus Santana. It's a very good match. A lot of pro wrestling fans know Dolph Ziggler and have for a long time. Like, he's very recognizable. You're on a new network. I understand why you want to do this kind of stuff, but like, I can't say it enough. I'm very big on like TNA needs to continue to build. They really need to build stars themselves. So I hope once they get through Santana and Nemeth, I hope somehow Santana gets through all that as the champion still, or we might have to have Nemeth win the title and Santana's going to win the title back from him at some point or something. But somewhere along the way, get new people into that mix that, by the way, are preferably like between 20 and 35 years old, not like guys that I've seen forever on other companies.
Yeah. Again, that has been a TNA problem forever.
Yeah.
I
know. I'm preaching to the choir. I get it.
And say that, like, TNA, you have a legacy where there are people out there like Josh Alexander who would give their left nut to be champion and stay in TNA. There are people who love TNA for better or for worse, but you can't the money will never be there. And I know that sounds mean to say, but that's just the truth. The money will never be there. Your pockets are not deep like Mr. Khan or McMahon's or whoever got it now. That's just the truth. But you can build up Samoa Joes. You can build up AJ Styles. You can build up Joe Hendrys, Jordan Graces, Deonna Purrazzo's. The list goes on. And I agree with Jensen. Just build new stars, and that's okay. It's okay to be a starter company or whatever it is, because people still talk about Rev Pro. They talked about what culture wrestling just now. You can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I agree with what Jensen is saying, 4,000%. My only little thing on top is, like I said, there are Josh Alexanders out there. There are people who are like, I grew up watching TNA. I love TNA. Heck, those other guys. But you got to nurture them, or else the moment they can, Leon Slater, the moment they get a little bit of crack, they're gonna go do crack, bro. Like, you gotta do something. And you have it in you. It's sad. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm not even mad.
This is indicative of a larger conversation I continue to have with our audience and with each other. And that's, again, I remind people, TNA runs 3 times a month. They are not a weekly episodic live television product. They have their taping schedule. It's 3 times a month. As a result, the benefit is, as a talent, you are on TV every single week, 50 weeks of the year, however many weeks that they run. It's not live run content all the time, but it's there. That's a benefit for those who want to continue working on the indies, those who want to continue working another job. If you have whatever it is, as you build towards being a full-time professional wrestler, if that is what you choose to do, TNA is the perfect spot for that. You learn TV wrestling, you learn how to work hard cam, you learn how to cut a promo, and you get to work with some of the better minds in wrestling. I know we talk about creative and everything, but there are a lot of people backstage whose minds are absolutely phenomenal to this business. And it's not a AJ Styles reference. It's just, there are a lot of guys back there and girls that you don't think about who are working there at TNA who can offer extended advice. Then you get to develop that young talent who are on the come up, who are learning televised wrestling, who are learning ways to work differently in front of a camera and in front of a different audience. And as a result, they get to build up to their career. If they go to WWE, that's a spot. If they go to AEW, there's another. If they decide that they want to keep working the indies and TV's not for them, then that's a whole other conversation. But you'll see this age discrepancy that you will have younger wrestlers just starting to learn, or top wrestlers who were just released or just moving on from other companies and don't have anywhere else to go. And that's where you have to fill that middle gap. And that's something that TNA has always struggled with, is filling that prime gap, because they can't deal with what WWE or AEW can offer them on a regular basis. So TNA has to, again, find that niche where they're developing young talent for TV and making them into stars. So that, and I gave ROH shit for this years ago, where they decided to rebrand as like, we're the company that sends our stars to WWE and NXT. And we're just like, well, you really gave up, didn't you? They didn't need to do it that way. But the point they were trying to make was, we build stars of tomorrow, but they weren't a developmental company. TNA has the opportunity to do the same thing without saying saying that part out loud. And that's what people need to remember. 3 times a week, 3 times a month they run, and there are opportunities to build. That's what it should be with TNA.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like Cinematics, I might be saying that wrong in the chat, mentioned, like have WWID wrestlers on TNA and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that'd be smart. Like if they put someone like Jack Cartwheel on TNA, that dude would blow people's minds.
That would be so good.
He'd be extra over, like immediately. And no one knows him from anything except for they might have seen him on AAA, and of course, if you followed the indies, you know about him. But like the larger wrestling audience has never seen that guy before. You got people I know, like Vanity Project, I saw is heading to NXT, and so is Eli Knight. These guys are super talented and they're super young. I mean, like Starboy Charlie's trying out with the WWE right now. If something doesn't work out there, TNA needs to get Starboy Charlie. Like, I mean, there is young talent out there ready to, like, people are going to, over in AEW land, like Jordan Oliver and Alex Price, they're going to kill it over there. Like, I'm very confident. Like, it's going to be a long-term play with those guys. But, like, there's so much young talent that's been grinding the indies. And this is, once again, part of a bigger conversation, and I won't get that into it. But we're at a point right now where when AEW started back in like 2019 or whatever it was, when like although everything's going in motion, AEW especially took most of the top established indie names when that company started. And it forced people who, in the grand scheme of things, probably weren't quite ready to be in the spots that they were. They had to fill those spots in the indies. A lot of these people had to learn really, really fast in really high pressure situations and start main eventing shows without a lot of experience. Now that group of people who have been doing that for like the last 6 years or so, now they're ready for TV, and they're only like 20, 21, 22 years old, a lot of these guys and girls. So like, that's where TNA needs to get in on this. Cause it's like, that's where the talent pool is that they need to be looking at, in my personal opinion.
And finally, this is something that many talk about, and I'm going to make it very quick. The WWE partnership, you do not need, and Cresta has been saying it all night, eventually you need to stand up for yourself, because there are certain things that you cannot acquiesce to. You cannot always be being like, oh, yes, WWE, we can do this for you. We'd love to do this. Yeah, you want us to talk about running on Wednesdays? Yeah, we can make that happen. Or, yeah, WWE, you want us to talk about being the #2 promotion? Yeah, we can totally do that. It doesn't work. It hurts you more than it helps you. In a place where a lot of people are just kind of sick of tribalism, you can build more fans by trying to build a bridge than you can by trying to put up a wall. And that is what has been actively happening building up TNA for this AMC debut. There have been plenty of wrestlers and plenty of TNA people being like, we can be #2. And it's like, but why? You can't.
Yeah.
You know you can't. Why are you going to lie about it? So instead of trying to build with WWE's approval, you should be building your own talent and working with WWE when they want to send talent to you and they want some of your talent. That's what this original partnership was. It was a pipeline and also a benefit for both sides on different levels. For anyone who was expecting this to be even, we said it, not going to be even. TNA was always very distantly at the bottom of the WWE partnership, and now WWE has AAA, and now they have a WWE ID system, and now they have Evolve, and now they have NXT that's doing more, and now they're starting to focus on indie wrestlers coming in for tryouts. TNA needs to refocus finding their talent for their shows for right now, not bringing in or partnering with NXT or trying to use their stars. You need to build your own. That's what TNA needs for their identity, because right now they are listless for that.
Yeah, like the best case scenario for TNA, have an entire roster of Leon Slaters, like people that like were good on the indies, that were like Leon Slater was TV ready by the time he was like 18 years old and had been wrestling since he was like 15. If you can have a whole, because like you're gonna lose Leon Slater to the WWE, it's gonna happen. But that's not that big of a. But that's not that big of a problem if your entire roster is guys like that. You know what I mean? So it's like that's what they need to, that's what I think they really need to focus on. I know we're all in agreement. It's just I can't stress it enough. Like there's a lot of young talent out there, and TNA just needs to get really aggressive in bringing a lot of that talent in and not losing them. There's people like, for instance, I can talk about this forever, but for instance, Nick Wayne is in this boat, already signed to TNA, signed to AEW. Billy Starks, same thing. These are people that were in the same group of people as Starboy Charlie, who isn't signed yet, as there's Joe Lando and these guys. There's young international talent as well. It's just TNA, I think, can do what they're doing with Leon Slater with a lot of young talent. And then when WWE wants one or two of them at a time, it's not that big of a deal because you got a whole bunch of them still on your roster.
I agree with that 4,000%. I said this on Thursday's show, and I'll say it again. There are so many people on the Twitter exclusive. I think one name comes to mind all the time is Kid Bandit. TNA, you are so good at making alternative or talent that people wouldn't see as, not to quote Cody Rhodes, as less than desirable, unfucking deniable. I've seen what you've done. Steve fucking Macklin, bro.
Well, I used to be visa issues, he couldn't get him all the way from Jersey.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks. But I'm like, yo, Steve Macklin came from the fucking mud, bro. And now he's one of the most trusted guys at the top of your card. You could do that with the Kid Bandit. I heard Michael Oku. Even if you want to take this, Joel said this. I don't remember when he said this, but why are you not looking at every woman from Bailey's Lodestone? What are you like? There are so many people that could totally help you, TNA. Free agents, people not so much from WWE or from TNA. There are people you could get. I know you have it in you. Stand up, fight back, do some rebuild. You've done it before. AJ Styles burnt this house down. Jordan Grace, Deonna Purrazzo, Matt Cardona, even Eddie Edwards, all of them built the house again. And now that they're gone, build it again. You can do it. You can do it. Just don't be a coward.
This is the last thing that I'll say. I know we got to get out of here. Just to put a pin on one advantage TNA also has right now when it comes to this whole idea of bringing in good young talent. Mike Santana, the current world champion, in recent years has gone out to a lot of these independent companies and main evented their shows and worked with a lot of these talents. So they have someone right there at the top of their card who can talk to their management when they need advice on who to bring in. Mike Santana is going to be a great resource to know who's ready and who isn't that they could bring in. They have people in TNA right now that can vouch for the right people. So there's a lot. I'm optimistic for TNA, by the way. I just think that, they kind of got it. They're just always, for the last 20 plus years, they're always in the trying to find their identity mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you just hope one day that they'll actually find whatever that identity is. But
they're going to figure out what they want to be when they grow up.
But hey, they'll be there. They will be there. If we know anything, TNA is never going to die, no matter what happens. TNA, Impact Wrestling, whatever you want to call it, it will survive.
The cockroach of professional wrestling.
Yes.
All right, last couple of super chats. Josh D saying Moose is 2026 front runner for gear of the year. That was beautiful gear. He had on the baby blue and the pink. It looked good. I like Moose's gear tonight.
Yeah,
there you go.
The man.
He is good.
Yeah.
See Delgado say, why be a special ref if you need a ref to cash in? It's true. Nick Nemeth should have just counted his own 3 when he cashed in. But I guess because it was the end of the match, he was no longer the special guest referee. He couldn't just count 3 on his own title win. Damn it. Would have been too easy.
Those pesky rules.
Yep. And finally, Cool Fool asking the question on everyone's mind. This is a very quick discussion point. Carlos Silva seems to be a good person, but do y'all think he inserts himself too much on TV? Yes, he does. He, for some reason, absolutely loves to be the guy who has to be the president, bye-bye Cresta, who for some reason needs to put himself on TV at all costs. He wants to be the guy who gives the titles. He always wants to be clapping and laughing and hamming it up with Len Asper and be like, look how great we are, TNA. And that's got to stop. I do not need another guy putting himself over on TV. Carlos Silva, I'm sure, very nice guy. The interviews he gives, fine, whatever. Feel how you will. He doesn't need to get himself over. The company has Santino, and they're hopefully going to be moving him on and doing something with Dario Rey instead. Leave the on-air characters to the on-air personalities. Yes, thank you for the censorship of this.
I know people are weird. I'm sorry.
Carlos Silva, that's another thing that I'm sure he's learned from the WWE partnership. He's seeing how the WWE operates. There seems to be a guy on their show also who like always somehow happens to be like right dead center in the middle of everything WWE currently, on screen during the vignettes, during the promo material. There's one person very prominent all the time now that happens to be pretty high up in the company. I think TNA is just kind of looking at that and being like, yeah, maybe we should do that also. That
and the executive producer credits and all that.
Yep.
When I saw that on Thursday, I said, oh, you dick.
Where's Reg and Phil? Credit boys. Let's go.
They gave him the credit boy whole thing. It doesn't make sense to have Carlos out there because he's not an authority figure. He's known as the president of TNA, like front facing, but he doesn't need to be front facing. You can have an actual, he's also not a good actor. I'm sorry. Carlos, let's just be honest. You're just not a good actor and you don't need to be a good actor. You just need to go and do your job. Just do your job.
Do your job, Carlos. Do your job.
We did our job. We did it. We said we do 75 minutes and we turned it into 2 hours of this stuff because we went all the way around. We talked about the good, the bad, the ugly, and now someone's gonna sit on a treadmill tomorrow after the pay-per-view and be like, yeah, that show was terrible, but it was also really good, but also like nothing changes and Joel's back on Monday or in the weeds, and then on Thursday he's gonna do an Impact post show at 11 p.m. at night, and I'm gonna be really lonely and tired, but here I am. Stephen Jensen, what are you doing?
You guys can catch me every Thursday, Fightful Overbooked. Myself and Jeremy Lambert, the Spotlight, talking all wrestling stuff, AEW, WWE, indies, everything in between. We usually have interviews for y'all as well and stuff. If you're a fan of indie wrestling, I know we had a lot of indie wrestling fans in the chat today. One of our frequent guests on the show is John Mosley, aka Mose, who is he really is a king of all trades when it comes to like indie wrestling. Does commentary, he books shows, ring announcing, everything. But more recently, a lot of people know him as a regular part of the GCW commentary team. Him and MLJ doing a lot of the shows together now. And if you want to hear more from Mose, he was on our show again recently this past Thursday. So I'd recommend checking out the backlog of the shows over on Fightful Overbooked. And then if you're also a fan of indie wrestling, I did a show over on Fightful Select for around 7 years called the Fightful Select Weekender Podcast. The full archive is still there on Fightful Select. So like if you wanted to know more about a lot of the talents that I'm talking about and that hopefully get signed and that kind of stuff, I talked about a lot of people that we talked about tonight. I've been talking about for years over there on that show. So if you want to go back and listen to any of those, maybe learn more about some of the talents and where they're coming from that you're starting to see more on TV.
Cresta Starr. What's up?
Hi, guys. I made an infographic because Jensen talks at the right time. My name is Cresta Starr. You can find me on YouTube, Cresta Starr. Fightful every Friday and Saturday. I'm here. Socials is all Cresta Starr. Restvestigation, Who the Fuck is Mark, comes out next week. All of that is Cresta Starr. I hope you find money on the floor and legally, and your butt looks nice. Thank you for having me.
You're missing an A on Saturday.
Yo, I'm American. I'm American.
Is that Saturday and then DG?
Saturdy. There's no A. You're right. I wrote that fast. I wrote Saturday.
You kind of combined the A and the Y, though, to be fair. Yeah, it's kind of there. Yeah.
Anyway, we did this. Someone asking me to preview ITW. It's just going to be 2 hours of Santos Escobar returns to WWE. He was on his bus for so long that they just said, here, go to Mexico. Damn. But that's what we do here. So for Jensen, for Cresta Starr, you know who I am. I just said their names. They appeared. We did it. Leave a thumbs up on the way out. Ladies, gentlemen, friends of me on the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
Peace.